Swarmkeeper, Swarmkeeper, Swarmkeeper. What are we going to do with you? I like the mechanics of it, but the aesthetics with the bees and stuff. It's like, what do you do when you hang out with somebody who's a Swarmkeeper? I mean, you can't really stand next to them. And like, God forbid you give them a hug, because then what do you give a hug to? Do you give a hug to the bees too, or the moths or whatever? It just seems like a mess. I really wish you could just toggle or just turn the swarm effect off, and that would just make this class so much better, but you can't do that. Or maybe, hang on a second. Okay then, that'll do. Alright, welcome back to the channel, y'all. Today we're going to be making a multi-class Swarmkeeper build focused on using a bow. I actually really like how Swarmkeeper plays, so this will definitely not be my last Swarmkeeper build. But anyways, first up, we're starting off with character creation. Now for this build, we are starting off with Ranger, and for our Natural Explorer, I would go with something like Urban Tracker, but any of these Wasteland Wanderers for cold, fire, poison, these can be good too because they will give you resistance to that type of damage, whichever one you choose. For your favorite enemy, I'm just going with Bounty Hunter, but Ranger Knight can also be good, so you get access to heavy armor. Background, always up to you. Now, your ability points, I would go with a spread like this, focusing on dexterity and intelligence. Whoa there, Nomad. Did you just say a ranger build with intelligence? What are you smoking? Don't worry, just stick with me here. I don't want to have to worry about respecking later, so just do it here. And then put your constitution up to 14, and then your remaining points you can put into whatever you want. I just made sure that my wisdom and my strength were even at 10, but other than that, we can move on to the leveling process. Let's forget the name of our character. We'll just name her Beasley. Yeah, that'll do. So starting off with the leveling process here, level 2, we're going to pick up some spells. Definitely take Hunter's Mark. This is mandatory. And then for the next spell slot, I would go with either Enhanced Sleep or Long Strider. Both of these are good movement abilities, but Long Strider is probably the more popular one. And then for our fighting style here, just go with Archery, and then we can move on to level 3. So moving on to level 3, this is where we're going to pick up our subclass, but first you get another spell. I would go with maybe Hail of Thorns for a little bit of AoE, or pick up Enhanced Sleep now, but kind of up to you. Now we are picking the subclass Swarmkeeper, and our first subclass feature we get here is Prey Scent, so we will do additional damage to targets that are marked with Hunter's Mark. This is why I said taking Hunter's Mark was mandatory earlier. We also pick up the spell Fairy Fire. This is a really good concentration actually, but unfortunately Hunter's Mark is kind of our bread and butter, so you're going to be bouncing between either maybe using this or Hunter's Mark, but again, probably Hunter's Mark. And as far as your swarm, I would either go with jellyfish or I would go with the moths here. And that's because jellyfish are additional effect when we hit a target. We can shock them, and the shock is really good here because it takes away their reaction, and that can be really good against powerful enemies like bosses. And then for moths here, it gives you that blind effect, and it really will hamper, I'd say, melee characters. So I really like these two swarms. Bees is okay, but you just get like a push with it, and I just find the other two more to my liking. But anyways, now we can move on to level 4. Now, between levels as a Swarmkeeper, you can change your swarm. I wish you could change it once per long rest, but it has to be between levels. But at level 4 here, we pick up our feats. So let's talk about feats for a little bit here. There's only like 2 feats I think you should really bounce between. Obviously, one is ability improvement and bumping up dexterity. That can be good. And the other really is just sharpshooter. Those are the two that I would go between. Kind of basic, kind of easy, but that's not always a bad thing. Let's move on to level 5. So at level 5, this is going to be our last level into Swarmkeeper here, and that's because we pick up our extra attack as a martial character. We also unlock our level 2 spell slots. I would go with something like Pass Without Trace. This can basically make you invisible if you have another character cast greater invisibility on you, and you will never break that stealth check. So this could be a stealth archer in a sense. For your swarm, this is your last time to be able to change it. And with that, that is our last level into Swarmkeeper. So let's move on to level 6. So at level 6, we're going to start our multi-class and we're going to go into Fighter. So some of you that are already guessing where this is going, and you're goddamn right. Anyways, for our fighting style, since we already have Archery, we're going to go with Defense here. I'd say we could tailor this build to be a 2-weapon fighting if we went something into Thief later on to get 2 bonus actions, because again, our bread and butter here is still using Hunter's Mark, and that's our bonus action. But that's not for this video here. We're just going to go with Defense, and we can move on to level 7. And at level 7, so level 2 Fighter here, we pick up Action Surge. I wish that this Swarmkeeper, their swarm feature, worked once per action, kind of like how Booming Blade works, instead of just being once per turn. I feel like that would make Swarmkeeper so much better, but as it is just once per turn. But anyways, Action Surge here from Fighter is amazing, especially for all martial characters, so really good, and we can move on to level 8. And at level 8, we're going to pick up our fighter subclass, and you can see it right there. Yep, it's Arcane Archer. That's why we have 16 intelligence, because our arrows here that we're going to choose, the saving throw is going to be based off our intelligence. So the arrows I'm going with are Grasping Arrow, kind of fits with the theme we're going for. And then Seeking Arrow, kind of like a magical arrow. I really like this one. And then Banishing Arrow is a really good choice too. We are going to pick up some more magical arrows, or I should say arcane shots later. So Bursting Arrow, we're going to pick it up later. That's a really good one. And then for your last arrows, they're kind of up to you. They're all pretty decent. It's just these three and then this fourth one here, I would say are like my mainstay. We also did pick up a cantrip, and I would just go with guidance. But other than that, we can move on to level 9. And at level 9, we get our second feat because we're level 4 fighter. I would just go with ability improvement and bump up your dexterity, and then we can move on to level 10. Level 10, we don't pick up really anything because we already have extra attack. And then level 11, we might as well just quickly go through these last two. We get another feat. So you can use ability improvement and max out your dexterity to 20, or you could take something like alert. Kind of this one's up to you. But for our last level here, we get to pick another arrow. So at level 12, we get another arcane shot. I'm going to be taking probably Bursting Arrow here, but also for your subclass feature here, we get Magic Arrow, so all of our arrows are considered magical. That's okay, but really the one good thing here is Curving Shot. So if we miss one of our arrow shots, we can use our bonus action, and our arrow will then travel to the next closest target, which is really nice. We also pick up another Arcane Shot. We should have a total of 7 total, which is a lot of Arcane Shots considering these will come back on short rest. But that's the leveling out of the way. Let's move on to the gear section and the gameplay. All right, then moving to the gameplay section here, I already got into a little bit of a kerfuffle here. Apparently, it was this dude's house, but these people are living there, so he then used these people to try to kick out these dudes, and I don't know. Apparently, Baldur's Gate 3 has like a housing crisis, but not really my problem. I'm just here to save the world. Now, when we take a look at our gear here, everything I'm wearing right now is basically just for aesthetics. This build doesn't require any piece of equipment. I'm just picking stuff that does damage, or it looks cool, or has synergy with being like obscured, so just like in any shadows. Technically, you don't need to use a bow for this build. You could go with a crossbow as well. That can work. I will say this strange conduit ring is really good for this setup just because, again, we have so much synergy with Hunter's Mark that we're just going to get that 1d4 damage. And I just took something like the Caustic Band for just, 2 additional damage as well. Now, starting the fight here, we're going to attempt to banish these 2 melee targets first. So go ahead and use Banishing Arrow. And we moved into that dark area over there because we have both Dark Veil, Precision, and then we also have Covert Critical that procced because, again, we're in the shadow. So that's why we moved over there. When we hit that target, of course, our swarm came up, but because they're banished, this attack and then the blinding swarm really not going to matter. So we're just not going to react, and then we're going to use our second shot, our extra attack, to go ahead and banish this guy over here. Again, swarm thing comes up, but we're not going to do anything with it. Now, we're going to use our action surge to deal with these other 2 goons. So we're going to open up with Hunter's Mark. And then we're going to follow up with something like Bursting Arrow. Oh, I wish he was a little bit closer, but that's fine. We'll go ahead and just use something like Seeking Arrow. Let's just guarantee a hit on him. Now he has Fairy Fire applied to him. So this is what's nice about this build here, because I mentioned earlier in leveling, Swarmkeepers, we get Fairy Fire, but we also want to use Hunter's Mark all the time. Well, when we take Arcane Archer here, we can apply Fairy Fire and Hunter's Mark at the same time without having to basically flip-flop concentrations. So that's really nice. And now I'm thinking we just finish this guy off with a regular shot. We also got our Swarm proc here. I guess we'll go ahead and use it, and we'll gain a little distance because, again, these 2 targets that we banished, they're melee. So we want to be as far away from them as we can. And let's get as close as we can to this archer to make him have to basically get away from us. He runs away. He's going to try to shoot us. That's fine. Now, the other 2 are banished for 1 more turn, so we just have plenty of time to deal with him. Go ahead and reapply our Hunter's Mark. And then we'll just basically do a bunch of normal attacks against him. Actually, let's use Grasping Arrow, just in case he wants to get away again. And I know we saw this earlier when we banished those other targets, but yes, Arcane Shots will proc your Swarm, so we basically can double up on damage and effects at the same time. So they're now dealt with, and basically I guess we'll just wait for the other 2 to come back. Nice. So we'll just end our turn, sorry, moving my mic a bit, and wait till they come back. They are back with the living, I suppose. I don't know what plane I sent them to, but I bet they're glad to be back, huh? So to start off again, of course, we're going to do Hunter's Mark. And now this is a great time to use Grasping Arrow because they are forced to basically run to us. And by doing so, they will hurt themselves. Now, if I do my attack here, this is going to kill them. I don't want to kill them just yet. I want my Grasping Arrow to the entanglement there. I want that to kill them. So we'll just blind them instead. So now they're blinded and we can actually move a little bit closer because I feel a little bit safer because they're going to die immediately. And we'll do the same thing to him over there. This just might kill him outright. Yep. See ya, bud. And that's basically it. So that's the show because this person, and they're dead. Woohoo! Gosh, archer builds in this game are just so good and just really easy to build into. All right, y'all, that's the build. That's the video. A lot of ways you can build an archer in Baldur's Gate 3, and this was just one way. Instead of taking Arcane Archer, we could have taken Battle Master instead. It basically would have worked the same way because Battle Master maneuvers and those arcane shots both come back on short rest. So those have a really nice synergy with the swarm effect from Swarmkeeper. I'm a big fan of it. Anyways, if you made it this far, thank you very much. I appreciate you. If you're not part of the channel, consider joining, and I will see you next time. Peace and take care.